السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا عقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبد الله ورسوله. أما بعد. We thank the Almighty Allah for giving us another opportunity. We thank Him for His mercies that He's bestowed upon us. We bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except the Almighty Allah. We also bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and His messenger. Today, I think 18th Jumad al-Ula. I'm not really sure of the Islamic calendar today. But today is obviously the 14th of December 2022. The last time we met, we spoke about rulings concerning female-specific issues. And that is predominantly issues concerning the monthly visit of our sisters. And we spoke about the number of days, the types of blood that a woman normally sees. We got to a point where we're looking at some rulings concerning a Muslim woman when she sees her monthly visitor. What are the do's and don'ts for her? And we said that first and foremost, if she sees her monthly visitor, then Salah is no longer obligatory upon her. And then she doesn't say that because she's a Muslim and she's a mu'minah, she will pray by force. No, it's not a sign of Iman. It is a gift from the Almighty Allah. As we said earlier on, that this monthly visitor is not a sign of deficiency, it's not a sign of weakness, it's not also an illness, even from the medical point of view. It is rather a source of strength, and then it's also a sign that you are healthy. The other thing that you are not obliged to do is that you are not obliged to fast when you have your monthly visitor. But with Salah, you don't make up the days that you miss. For example, if you already know, it's just a reminder. If your visitor comes for 4 or 5 days and then you don't pray, you don't have Salah in those days, after a visitor leaves, then there is no need for you to remake those days that you've lost in prayer. But then if your visitor comes in the month of Ramadan, then you miss a couple of days in the month of Ramadan, after your visitor leaves, you make up for those days that you've missed in the month of Ramadan. The third one is that you are not obliged to do tawaf. That is, if you go to Hajj and then before the normal rites of Hajj or within these Hajj days, your visitor comes in, and then you are not obliged to perform tawaf. You only perform tawaf after your visitor has left you. But what if the visitor stays long and then you're supposed to leave Makkah before the time that the visitor leaves? The scholars have had a long treatise on that. Maybe in our next seminar we might discuss that. We're going to begin from a very sensitive point, which is it allowed for the husband of the woman to have conjugal activities with his wife when she is in her menses? That is the point we're going to begin from today. If a woman is in her menses and the husband wants to have conjugal activities with her, is he allowed to do that? It is a unanimous decision or agreement between Muslim Jews that no, he's not allowed to have access to her when she is in her menses. But then he is giving opportunity to the rest of the body. That is why the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha says, when any of the wives are in her menses and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam want to have some closeness with her between husband and wife, he makes them to tie a wrapper from their waist downwards, which means he doesn't have access to those places that are below. In effect, what it means is that he's not supposed to have any direct conjugal activities with the wife. All he can do are all indirect, touches and hugs. That's the only thing. Now the point is, when she finishes her menses, the blood is no longer flowing, but she has not had her bath yet. Can the husband have any conjugal activities with her? Majority of the scholars say no. He cannot have any conjugal activities with her until she purifies herself. The reason why they differed is the purity of the woman after her menses. Is it when the blood stops flowing, or is it when she has a bath? That's why they had a difference of opinion. Some of the scholars are saying, until she has a bath, she is not purified yet, because she cannot have her salah, or she cannot even fast at that time. The others are saying, no, the moment she finishes her period, that's it. But then the majority of the scholars are of the opinion, no. The verse in the Quran is very explicit that don't go near them until they are clean. And then when they clean themselves. So it's very important that before a husband can have any conjugal, activities with his wife, she must finish her menses, she must have bath, clean herself up before he will have access to her normally. It's a long debate between scholars. The Arabic language is very rich in that. Then the other point is, what if the husband is in a situation that they end up, having the conjugal activity? What's the ruling on that? The scholars have differed. Imam Malik and Imam Shafi, Imam Abu Hanifa says he only has to do istighfar, and that's it. It is wrong, he has done it, he must do istighfar. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal says that he has to give sadaqah to expiate that, and then that's it. And then they differed because of some hadith that has come concerning these things. Our major discussion today is what is going to look at metrorrhagia or al-istihada, that a woman sees blood almost every time, almost all the time she sees blood. What's the ruling on that, and what's behind it? There is the hadith of Fatima bint Abi Hubaysh, which is a very known hadith in this field, that what if a woman sees blood more than the number of days that she's supposed to see her menses? What's the ruling on that? How is she going to go about her salah? Because we know if there is blood, then there's no salah. But here's the case that she sees blood all the time. What is she going to do, and how is she going to maneuver around this? Don't forget, in our lesson last week, we said that there are two types of women, or there are three types of women. The first woman is the young girl who is a novice, who has just started her menses. She doesn't have a specific number of days. Maybe this month is 4, next month is 5, the other month is 6. So she doesn't have a definite day. And then there's another woman who is experienced woman who has been having her menses for quite a time. So she knows that it's always this number of days. That's my days, and she knows when it's going to come. Okay, what if after knowing these number of days, she just sees that the blood has just continuing flowing? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when such an issue was brought to his attention, he told them that the menstrual blood is dark in color, and any other color cannot be considered as no. The menstrual blood is dark in color, but then it differs from one woman to the other. Some has bright red, someone has a darker color. So there is nothing definite to pinpoint to the fact that this is the type of menses, or this is the standard type of menses. There's nothing like that. So when you see what is normal for you in your menses, whether it's a dark color or whether it's a bright red color, for the number of days that you know you must say it, then the color changes to another color, then your original one is your menses, and then the new one that comes in is considered as metrorrhagia, or excessive bleeding, or bleeding between intervals of menstrual cycle. I hope you get it. So when this happens, how do you go about it? Some of the scholars says the moment you are able, some women are not able to differentiate between their normal menses from another blood flow. They can't differentiate. Some women are able to differentiate. So some of the scholars are saying that the moment you are able to differentiate between your normal flow and any other blood, then you just have your one bath and then that's it. And then you seek medical attention. Just one bath, as normally that your blood has stopped flowing and that's it. You consider yourself that because you're able to differentiate between your normal menses and you're able to know the number of days that you have your visitor. So you are clear on that. Any other flow that comes out later, you know very well that it's not menses, so you just go and seek for medical health. But then they had a subtle, rule in there that apart from having that one full bath, you have ablution for every salah. So even if your ablution is not nullified, you have to make ablution for every salah. So that's one group. The other group says that it's not compulsory for you to have ablution for every salah. It's not compulsory. It's just that if you are aware that your original ablution is still valid, then there's no need for you to repeat a new ablution. It is just out of your own volition if you want to. We are coming to the opinions. We are going to state the opinions. Some of them say that you have to bath for every salah. So it's not about ablution now. It's about washing for every salah. Another opinion says you delay Zuhur to Asr time, and then you pray them with one cleaning. Is that cleaning bathing? Is that wudu? We'll come to it. And then you delay Maghrib to Isha time, alayhi salam, and then you pray Maghrib and Isha together with one cleaning or one cleansing. How many opinions so far? 3 opinions. The 4th opinion says that any woman who has, continuous flow of blood, she does have to have that ghusl once a day and a night. So within a 24-hour period, she just have that one bath once. So she bath that purification bath once in every 24 hours. I'm just going to relist those opinions for you so that the first opinion is that she's only obliged to have one cleaning right after the blood is over, and she is someone who can differentiate between a menstrual blood and then the metrorrhagia that has happened to her. Only one, and that's it. The second opinion is that she performs cleaning for every salah. The third opinion is that she performs 3 cleanings in a day, which is Zuhur and Asr has one cleaning, Maghrib and Isha has one cleaning, and then Fajr has one cleaning. The fourth opinion says just one cleaning throughout the day within a 24-hour period. So the first opinion is for someone who is able to differentiate between her period. But then the last 3, the scholars are saying the reason being is that she is not someone who is able to differentiate between whether it is time for her menses or not. She's not. She doesn't know. So that's why they put that burden upon her that she should, do that. The reasons they gave is that the hadith The first one is that there is a case of hadith Aisha of Fatima bint Abi Hubaysh, where she came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm a woman who has seen extra flow from the normal one. Do I stop praying? Because I know I see my menses 5 or 6 days in a month, but then here is the case, I'm seeing on the 7th and then the 8th and then the 9th day, and I can see that it's extra. Do I stop? Do I put salah aside and continue on the praying? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no. No, I understand that is not menses. That extra flow is not menses. But then what you're supposed to do is that if you know your number of days, you wash yourself after the number of days, and then you go back and go and do your salah, and then you look for medication for that extra flow. So this hadith is very clear that it's for a woman who really knows her days. She can differentiate between menses, and then that is not menses for her. There is also an addition to this rule, which can be found in Sunan Abi Dawud, where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reported to have added وَتَوَضَّئِ لِكُلِّ صَلَاةٍ, that you perform ablution for every salah. If you have any questions so far, you can ask before I continue, because I know this is a very I'm referring to ghusl. When we say the 3 baths, that is, she baths for Zuhur and Asr is ghusl. She baths for Maghrib and Isha is ghusl. And then she baths for Fajr is ghusl. So some of them made it compulsory that she baths. But then others also within the same group of people who say that she must purify herself for every for these 3 different times. Some of them say it's wudu, not ghusl. I hope you get it. But then the lady who came to complain to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told her to purify, she chose to what? To do ghusl and not wudu all the time. I hope you get it.
So like she did ghusl before every salah, she did ghusl for the 3 periods.
She did ghusl for 3 periods. You get it? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made an open statement.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go on.
Is it like okay, you said Fajr, Dhuhr, and
Asr together?
Right. It's
Yes.
like you saying together as in a joint, like if we was to join.
Yes, as well as joining. You get it? So they explain further that she delays Zuhur to the time of Asr and then prays them together, combined. As when maybe there is weather and stuff like that, you combine Zuhur and Asr and Maghrib and Isha. This is her weather. That's her weather. So she is going to delay Zuhur to Asr's time and then combine Zuhur and Asr, because she has an exceptional ruling. She has a different case. And then she delays Maghrib to Isha time, and then she prays them together with one purification. But then the purification here is it wudu or is it ghusl? It's ghusl. Because Fatima bint Hubaysh, I'm very sure, but we'll get there, she chose to do ghusl all the time. But then the scholars are saying wudu is enough for her, because that blood that flows from her is not a blood that necessitates ghusl for purification. I hope you get it. It's only menstrual blood that necessitates ghusl before any act of worship. And this blood istihada is not considered as haida. It's not considered as menstruation. It's only menstruation that demands, after menses, before you can pray, you must perform ghusl. It's only menses that demands that. Istihada doesn't demand that, because the Sharia does not consider istihada as a form of what? As a form of menses. Because when you are in your istihada, you will have to perform salah. You will have to fast. I hope you get it. But she took it to the next level and decided that instead of wudu, I'm going to do ghusl. That's what the analysis that the scholars gave. Wa alaikum salam, fadhal.
I have a question. Sometimes you think you finish and you purify yourself overnight, and in the morning you pray and you go to work, and it's a time to pray. You see a lot of it. Do you need to take a ghusl, or you can still pray your prayer, or you have to come back home to purify yourself with water.
We discussed that last week. Can anybody help me answer this question? The signs of being clean.
Oh,
The
sorry.
whiteness.
There's the whiteness. If there's whitish fluid that's come out, then it's a sign that you're done. Then if there's any brownish color, if there's any yellowish color, these are signs that it's over. Or if there's a dryness, these are all signs that it is over. So yes, if you can add more. Right, sir.
Please correct me if I'm mistaken. You said that if it was brown or yellow, that's not a sign that it's over, that you wait until you see the white, unless it happens outside of menstruation.
Yes, that's we said that. We brought different opinions. That some scholars are of the opinion that the moment you see a brownish discharge or a yellowish discharge, it's a sign that, or a whitish fluid, it's a sign that it's over. If it is right after the number of days that you are having your menses, okay. But if it is within the number of days you are doing your menses, for example, you menstruate for 4 or 5 days, and within those 4 or 5 days you see that brownish yellowish discharge, it's not a sign that it's over, because you know the number of days that you menstruate. But then if it is to the 5th day or 6th day, you normally do 5-6 days, and then you start seeing those discharge, that means it's a sign that it's over. My mother is shaking her head.
Well, what about if it's still bleeding, even now?
That's why, you see, do you know the reason why menses is very complicated? We have 8 billion human beings on the surface of the earth. And women make almost about 5 billion. And each and every woman has a story. So, this thing, I had to read and reread and reread and go back and listen to lectures and ask questions. And some of the things is still not adding up. That is why every woman's case is peculiar and specific to her. Your fatwa will different from my mother's fatwa here. I hope you get it. So some women, it's when it is dry, that is when it's a sign that it's over. For some others, if there is that yellowish, color or brownish color, it's a sign that it's coming to an over. It's over. If there is a whitish, discharge fluid, it shows that it's over. Some women, I've read in some books that some women's menstruation is even yellowish in color. It's not that dark red. Some women's one is brownish in color. So if we say that when you see the brownish discharge or the yellowish discharge, it means that's the end of the menses. That is what is normal for another woman. I hope you get it. So some of these rulings are based on generalizations and not specifications. So you need to study your body more to know, okay, from this time, this is when I've started my menses. This is how long it's going to take. And anytime I'm in my menses, this is my normal flow, this is my normal color. If it is coming to an end, this is the change that happens, and then you use that as a criteria to judge when you are over or when you are not over. I hope that makes a lot of sense, because it differs from one person to the other. And from last week, I had to go back to other books, reread and see. I went to some websites to read more about the medical side of it, and the information I'm getting, my head is even aching. You women are doing very well. Wallahi, you're doing very well. Wallahi, you're doing very, very, very well. Last week I had to call my mother and just say, Barakallahu feek. And she was like, what has happened? I said, nothing, just Barakallahu feek. Wallahi. So any other question from this point? So it depends on you. But then the generalization is that these are the signs that shows that it's over. But then it's not the standard, as we say. It's woman specific. It's woman specific. Yes, my sister. About the
category that you placed the delay of the prayer to
No.
what is that category considered to be? You said that was considered to be her own battle.
No.
Or something similar to
She came, the hadith, even though that hadith itself has a problem with it in terms of its chain of narration, but the opinion is this, that when a woman sees extra flow of her blood, that's what we're discussing, that the normal menses is 5, 6, 7 days, and then she sees extra flow. What's the ruling? The first ruling is that she baths. If she's someone who knows a number of days, I know my days are 5 days, and then I see continue. I've been seeing my flow for all these ages. I know it's 5-6 days, and then one time I realized that no, it's gone beyond 6 days to 7 days or to 8 days. That is not normal, because your norm is 5 or 6 days. That's not normal. So the Sharia is saying what you do is that you bath straightforward, you start your prayer, and then you look for medical help. So that's for someone who knows her days. The other opinion is that it's not one bath. I hope you get me. It's one bath like it's normal for you. You have your 5-6 days, the blood stop flowing, you bath, you go back to Salah. That's the normal thing. But there is the case whereby after the 5th or 6th day, the blood is flowing. Now, since you know yourself, you know that you are a 5-6 day person, you go back to your original plan. You bath, and then you continue your prayers, and then you seek medical advice. That is first opinion. The second opinion says, yes, you bath, you go back to Salah, but for every Salah, you need to take a bath. The first opinion is just one bath to cleanse that, and then you continue with your life. The second opinion is every Salah comes with a bath. That's the second opinion. The third opinion is every Salah, every bath is too much. Zuhur, Asr together, one bath. Maghrib, Isha together, one bath, and then Fajr alone, one bath. You get the point now? So the hadith was speaking about purifying herself for this Salah. But this woman took it to another, women, you take things to another level. She took it to another level, and instead of wudu, she was doing ghusl. Okay? Instead of the lesser form of purification, women, perfectionist, straightforward, she went to do ghusl. So the scholars are saying that is her choice. So it became an open, thing that if it is the choice of a woman that she wants to bath for every Salah, that's her business. Even originally, if she's not in the case, for example, now you might not be in your menses and you decide that out of your own luxury, and Zuhr has its own special bath, its own special abaya for the Almighty Allah. Asr, its own special bath, special dress. Maghrib, special. There's nothing wrong with that. I hope you get it. We cool on that? Alhamdulillah. Then the fourth opinion says, instead of 3 baths in a day, is 1. So every day 1, every day 1, every day 1. I hope you get the 4 opinions. And the hadith on that, 3 different opinions, and all these scholars, they hit my head. Any other questions?
Yeah,
No, Auntie.
if you, for example, you come to the Juma, you have to get the ghusl to come to the Juma for women.
No, the ghusl for the Juma, as we said last week, is not a compulsory thing. But then it's min al mustahabbat, min al mandubat. It's a very, very significant ritual. It has a lot of virtues, a lot of reward in it. It means you are preparing to come and meet the Almighty Allah. But then, if someone doesn't do it, we don't say the person is sinful. But when you do it, you get extra reward. The person who doesn't do it doesn't get any reward because the person didn't do it. So it's very, very important. But then it's not compulsory. We don't say that if you don't do the ghusl, don't come to Juma. No. Unless if maybe there are things that happen that you need to do ghusl. Maybe intimacy, maybe you have your visitor and stuff like that. Then that's a different situation. But if all things being equal, normally, yes, you can have your ghusl, take your time, wash up for the Almighty Allah, and then come to the Masjid. That's okay. I want to use the rest of the time to listen to your questions, if I can answer them on this issue. And I need to put an if there. It's not easy. It's not easy. Naam, tfaddal. Wa alaikum salam.
So 2 questions. So for an individual who dries up, doesn't have a white discharge, at what point should they check to see if their menses has ended? Should it be before each prayer? Should it? What is the protocol?
Yes, because this situation is very critical to our prayers, our salah. Most of the scholars are of the opinion that you try to check it before every salah. Because as we said the last time, that for example, if you're pure before Maghrib, it means Zuhur and Asr. You must make them up.
Can you repeat that, please?
Let's say the whole day you are in your menses. And then after Asr, before Maghrib, you check that you realize that it's over. Your menses is over. It stopped for the month. Before Maghrib. So long as the time of Asr is still in and time of Asr has not elapsed, the Asr is wajib upon you. You get it?
Just Asr though, right?
Maghrib, Zuhur and Asr.
Okay.
I hope you get it. You are in your menses. Now we pray Asr around 2:35. Right? We pray, let's say we pray Maghrib 4:50. And then you checked around 3:30, 3:45. You're clean. The time of Asr is still in. It's not yet over. The time of Asr is still in. Asr comes to an end the moment Maghrib enters in. And since it's not yet time for Maghrib and it's still time for Asr, you have to bath and make up Zuhur and Asr for that day. I hope you get it. I hope you get it. Yeah, you don't know today, you know. Not to worry. No, you don't know. You don't know, and the Almighty Allah is very generous to us. If you don't know things, He forgives us. I hope the answer is clear. If there's any follow-up questions on that. You have any follow-up question on that? You have any follow-up question on that? And the other point, follow-up question.
So
Fajr
Fajr is not included in the
is not included in that day. Fajr is not included. It's only Zuhur and Asr for that day. Okay, the other point is that after Maghrib or after Isha, maybe around 10 p.m., then you realize that you're clean. So long as the time for Maghrib and Isha has not elapsed, you make up Maghrib and Isha. I hope you get it. Around 10 p.m., you realize that, it's all over. So it's only Maghrib and what? And Isha at that time. Okay, another point. Right before Fajr, you realize that you're clean. So long as Fajr has not yet entered, we said before Fajr. It means Maghrib and Isha is still what? It's still available. You have to make it up. But if after Fajr, we pray 6:20, after Ishraq, maybe 7:20, you realize that you are clean. Fajr is not obligatory upon you to make it up because Fajr is gone. So to answer your question, it's very important that you use the Salah times as the times that you use to check whether it is in or it has stopped. Because since the rulings are closely related to Salah, and Salah is our biggest pillar, so obviously that should be the time we use to check up on ourselves. Your second question.
My second question. First, I just want to say thank you, Shay. I know this is a topic that's probably a little bit uncomfortable for you, but I know for me personally, and I imagine for some of my sisters as well, it's one that creates a great amount of anxiety.
No.
Etc. In the case of a woman who, sometimes has a white discharge and sometimes does not. Is that something that should be used to track the end of their menses? Something that will sometimes happen is it will appear as though it is dry, and then more blood will come, or brown will come, or yellow will come, and then sometimes a white comes and sometimes it does not. What would you recommend for a sister in that situation?
So sometimes a sister might need to see multiple signs, not only one sign. Some sisters might need to see multiple signs. And the other point is that what is important is we need to gauge and see the exact number of days that you have it's very, very important in determining, some of these, rulings, that if I know my number of days, 5, 6 days, if I know this is the custom I'm upon, then after the 5, 6 days, I should be seeing the signs of it coming to an end. So if I see different things, then it means I need to do what? I need to seek medical help. Or I need to bath and then go for it straight for it and continue my salah, because I know my normal days. So as I said earlier on, it's a complicated thing because every woman has a story. Depending on where we are coming from, the kind of food we eat, the ethnicity, our activities, whether we exercise a lot, whether we stay at one place, all these things come into play. People who are from hot regions have it different. It's all a whole thing on its own. That is why it's not one straight jacket for every woman. The fatwa for women specific issue differs from one woman to the other. That is why you don't just jump straight forward and give a fatwa. No. Especially on these things that, for example, if we come and make a generalization that the moment you see brownish stuff, then it means it's over totally. Another woman's discharge is always brown in color. Then we confuse her. So, and in the books, the scholars always write that these rulings we make on these women is because of observation, and then the stories that the women tell us, and then we document it. But it's not as if that is the standard ruling. Malik says it. That is why Malik sometimes, for example, when it comes to postpartum bleeding, Malik says the highest number of days a woman can bleed is 60 days. Another time he was asked, he said, go and ask the woman, I don't know. So all these things come into play, and you just observe yourself and see what's yours. Observe yourself and see what yours. And I believe it's important that the younger girls, we teach them these things. We teach them these things. Even if they are not yet at the age of puberty, we let them know some of these things. Now, my sister.
So when you say if the menses end before Fajr, we still have to make a Maghrib and Isha?
Maghrib and Isha, yes. Because Maghrib and Isha is still in. It's not over.
But I thought with Isha that it ends at midnight.
No, Isha doesn't end at midnight. Isha ends hatta matla'il fajr. Isha ends matla'il fajr. When Fajr comes in, then Isha is over. That is why in Laylatul Qadr, the angels descend right up till Fajr. That's the night. What you are speaking about is the recommended time for praying Isha. That make sure you pray Isha in the first third part of the night. According to Islamic Jews, the night is divided into 3. So, for example, this winter weather is a whole different thing. But on a normal 24-hour, equal night, equal day, distribution, Maghrib, let's say 6:30 p.m. to 9:30, 10. That's the first part of the night. And from 10 p.m. to about 1 a.m., that's the second portion of the night. And then from 1 a.m. to Fajr, that's the last portion of the night. That's why the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says, the Almighty Allah descends in the last third of the night. I hope you get it. So the recommended time for praying Maghrib and Isha is the first portion, or the first third of the night. So if you have issues that you're not able to pray, and then you pray it in the second portion of the night, you will not get the reward as someone who prayed it in the first portion of the night, because that person prayed it in its exact recommended time. So your deadline for Maghrib and Isha is Fajr. That's your deadline. And if you don't do it until Fajr comes in, then you are sinful. If you don't have any reasons, then you are sinful. So that's what you're looking at. So if a woman sees her purity before Fajr, then so long as Maghrib and Isha is still in, she prays Maghrib and Isha.
Say again.
When a woman sees her purity before Fajr, and so long as Maghrib and Isha ends with Fajr, and Fajr is not yet in. For example, let me give you an example. You oversleep. You woke up around 3 a.m. You've not prayed Maghrib and Isha. You make it up naturally, right? You make it up. So let's look at the reverse. You are in your menses, and around 3 a.m. you realize you are clean. Maghrib and Isha is still in. So you make it up. You get the analogy now? That makes sense.
Should we wake up to check and we think that it's
No, there's no need. I just mean you don't need to wake up. You don't need to set the alarm clock every 30 minutes to wake up to check. You don't need that. Okay. The sister asked the question that what are some of the time frames that we can use to check, and obviously because these rulings are very much close related to Salah, we decided to use Salah as a checkpoint for us, because our ability to perform Salah or otherwise is related to what? Us seeing our monthly visitor. So if the monthly visitor is in, then Salah is not obligatory upon us, Siyam is not obligatory upon us. But then the moment the visitor leaves, that is when it becomes obligatory upon us. So we need to know what time it left and see, is it within that time frame for that Salah, so that what? We offer that Salah. Okay? Now.
For a sister who has istihada, for
No.
example, and they have a set number of days. So let's say that their visitor comes
No.
just before, like in duha time on a Monday,
No.
and their set number of days is, let's say 5, for example. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. So on Saturday, what time should they make their ghusl, knowing that they're not going to have a clear sign of their menses?
She should just gauge exactly the time that it came on Monday. The sister is asking that if someone, has her 5 days, she knows her 5 days, but then she has this extra flow that she sees. And we're saying that the moment these 5 days are over, she should continue her Salah. She should bath and then continue her Salah. On the 5th day or on the 6th day, at what time should she check and bath and pray? She should check exactly the first time that it came. That should be the beginning and then the ending point, because that is her situation. She sees a continuous flow. But for a sister who doesn't see a continuous flow, you know better than I do that maybe it might come at dawn, and when it is going to stop, it stops in the afternoon. But here is the case, she doesn't have that stop because there is the continuation of flow. Okay, so she uses the first instant that it came as the beginning and the ending point. If she's in istihada, she's in metrorrhagia, where she sees, extra flow of blood. Questions from the last, lecture and today. That's why I paused. So that we'll have, next week we'll have to treat another topic, because the topics are very, very broad.
I have another question.
Fadlan.
And they already answered me, but I want to get from you. Like, it's time to pray, and you were so busy you cannot pray, and the time you're ready to go pray, and you feel like your thing is here. When you finish, you have to pray back that prayer.
Yes, she's asking that it's time for prayers, but because of one or two reasons, you're not able to pray, and then your visitor comes in. After you finish, will you make it up? Yes, if you go and borrow someone's spoon, after using it, you return it back to the person. Because you've borrowed that time from the Almighty Allah, you're not able to pray. After your menses, then you'll have to make up that day that you missed. That's why it's very, very important that we put our minds to these things. Wallahi, it's not easy to be a woman. It's never easy. Within the deen, it's not easy. But then it comes with this sharaf and nobility and importance. Wallahi. I read to you some verses in Leviticus last week concerning, women in Judaism when they are in their menses. I don't want to judge, but it's not the standard. It's not. That even when you sit on the chair is unclean, you need to wash the chair. That you touch a bowl, the bowl is unclean, you must wash the bowl. If a human being touches you, the human being is unclean for 7 days, they must wash themselves. No. Islam says no. That is why Aisha radiallahu anha, she was in her menses, and then the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked her to bring something or give him something. I forgot the exact hadith, and then she said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm in my menses. He said, no, your menses is not in your hands. It's not in your hands. And sometimes in i'tikaf, I quite remember, he was in i'tikaf and then she came visiting. He pushed his head through the window and then she washed his head for him. He washed his head for him. So the only thing that Islam prohibits us from doing during our menses with our husbands is that do not have conjugal activities that will lead to, childbirth. Do not have that. But any other activity, you chat together, you play together, you hug him from behind, you pull his ears, you pull his beard, no problem. If he is going to allow it, some of us men, we don't allow that. Some of us are lions in the house, but then we are goats outside. Excuse my language. Now,
So what is the okay, well, one thing I wanted to ask about the prayer. If you discuss the conditions of the prayer.
come again.
The conditions of the prayer.
Now,
And so like we had about 9 of them, 10 of them, 11.
conditions of prayer.
11, 12. No, that's not condition. That's not condition. That's pillage.
Yeah, the pillars.
11, 12.
So it's like 12.
Yeah, he said 7 or 8. No,
Nine.
11
No,
or-
it's 9 of them.
Conditions is
No,
9.
not condition. She said condition.
So like a part of the conditions
The
I
pillars.
wanted to know was it to be covered. So like one of them you didn't mention was like the importance of like what I understand is that not being covered during prayer for
12.
any female, like if it's not covered, just mean that prayer is not accepted. And even for a male, your aura is showing and it's not accepted. But that's
With your question, because I'm trying to put it together.
like this is about the prayer, so this is not anything to do with menstrual cycle.
Now, okay,
That's okay.
that's okay.
Okay. So okay, so we know as the conditions or the pillars of prayer.
Now,
We understand it's like what you receive.
They're not the same. The pillars are what we have to do. It's mandatory we have to do for our prayers to be accepted. The conditions are more or less so sooner. They're optional.
okay. Let me come in. We have arkan, we have shurut.
Arkan and shurut.
We have shurut and arkan. The shurut are the conditions. The arkan are the pillars. In any ibadah, we have conditions, we have pillars. Both of them are important. Without them, that form of worship doesn't stand. The shurut for salah, the conditions for salah, are not practices within the salah. Most often than not, these conditions are outside. So performing ghusl or doing ablution is not part of salah. But if you don't do the ablution, the salah is not going to be valid. Facing the qibla is a condition for salah. Covering up is a condition for salah. But these things are not a part and parcel of the salah. I hope you get it. You get the differences between pillars and conditions. The pillars are in there. Okay, like the pillars of the building. They are always in the building. They are not outside. Okay, my sister, you get the difference now. So now you can ask your question.
So my question is about the pillars of the prayer. The pillars are within inside the prayer.
No.
And so us being covered, we're inside the prayer. Is that something that is a pillar of the prayer of the salat? And if it is, then can you explain that?
Covering up is not a pillar in the salah. Covering up is a condition. For example, may Almighty Allah, some people might, through one or two reasons, poverty, might not have clothes. That does not mean that they cannot offer salah. Someone might end up in a situation whereby their clothes become tattered and ragged, their aura is not completely covered. That does not negate their salah. I hope you get it. So covering up is not a pillar in the salah, but it's a condition that you must make sure you meet before you come into the salah. Okay? So it's not a pillar in the salah, because there are circumstances whereby someone might end up praying without fully covering up. It's possible. Even though covering up is what is the standard that the person, all of us must have. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So the covering up is not a pillar in the salah, but it's a condition that if you don't meet it, then the salah is not going to be accepted. Unless when you have some exceptions or some reasons that are justifiable within the Sharia. So for example, there's the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a Sahabi said that some people came to the Masjid, some Bedouin Arabs came to the Masjid, and then their clothes were torn into pieces. You can see part of their aura. They came to the Masjid, they had with them swords, these people were poor and stuff like that. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ended up, doing a fundraiser for them and then give them money and food and stuff like that. So looking at this hadith, that it's possible someone might be through some hardship, some poverty, some stuff, something that will affect them having to cover up totally. So that person has an excuse which is justifiable within the Sharia. For that person, that condition no longer applies to them. But if you are capable of covering up totally for salah, then that condition is applicable to you. If you don't meet that condition, then that salah is not valid. Same way you don't meet the condition of performing ablution before coming to pray. Okay, so these conditions are weighed based on what? On their strength and then their powers. I hope you get it. It's the same thing with fasting. For example, you can't say you are fasting Ramadan in Jumad al-Ula, because part of the conditions of the compulsory fasting in Islam is that it must be in the month of what? In the month of Ramadan. You can't get up now and then go to downtown and then find a building and start circumambulating and saying you are doing tawaf. No, part of the condition of tawaf is that it must be what? Kaaba. I hope you get it. So the conditions are there, and then what? The pillars are there. They work hand in hand. But then the conditions, some of the conditions might be met with some exceptionalities. But as for the pillars, the moment you miss or erode a pillar, then that act of ibadah crumbles down. You need to redo it again. And you can see that from the pillars that you discussed the last time. You can see that these are pillars. It's like in the building that you pull down one pillar, the whole building comes down. Yes, any other question? Now.
And so, what about the rain prayer? So, a prayer in which one running for the sake of the rain.
No.
Can you explain that a bit more?
No, she's asking a question concerning combining prayers for rain. For example, you see, Islam is a very easy religion. And the Almighty Allah is very considerate. That if there is going to be anything that is going to affect the security of the Muslim community or the welfare of the Muslim community, then combine the prayers. It's not only about rain. I hope you get it. So for example, there's a blizzard. No matter the level of your iman, stay home and pray. Don't come to the masjid. This now becomes the rule. If you see in the deen, zealousness without knowledge is a disease. And this is a problem that we are facing. That we have a lot of zealous Muslims. The iman levels is up through the roof, but he doesn't know anything in the deen. So, what tames zealousness in Islam is knowledge. I gave you the hadith, was it last time? That
You said Zella? I'm sorry.
zealous, Z-E-A-L-O-S, ness. We, those from the English, British, we say zealousness. Oh? So, and I'm trying to, change my tongue to fit the American style. But it's not easy. You Americans are a different group of people from the world. Back in the other part of the world, we have kilometers. It's km, kilograms, kg, But you here, you have pounds, but then it's lbs. I don't get it. It's pounds, but it's lbs. So, They went to a war, and then one of the companions was struck in the head. He was bleeding. And then he slept, and then he had nocturnal emissions. So he woke up, and then he was like, guys, this is what has happened. He said, no. So long as you've had this nocturnal emission, you need to have ghusl. He said, look at my condition. I've been struck in the head. If I'm going to bath, water is going to enter into the soil and it's going to complicate it. He said, no. This is the qaida that you must bath. He bathed, water entered, and then he died. The Prophet ﷺ said, no. They killed him. Why didn't they ask when they did not know? So the conditions are there, the rulings are there, but Islam gives exceptions. So for example, if we are in the masjid now, or we are in the masjid now, we are praying, and then someone comes in with a gun, you don't stand and say, Allah Akbar, Alhamdulillah, I'm having my last prayer. No. You don't do that. You get to the door. If the person comes in, I'm seeing him first. By the time you guys realize, I'm already gone. So there's nothing like overzealousness in the religion. You play by the rules. I'm not saying if you remain here and then the person kills you, you are not a Muslim. That's not what I'm saying. But then Islam needs you alive. Your family needs you alive. The community needs you alive. That's more important to us than you going to face him and then taking the bullets. That is why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he goes to war, he has an armor. He holds a sword. He doesn't go to the war with sticks, and it's only his teeth. Hope you understand. There is reliance upon the Almighty Allah. Your heart relies on the Almighty Allah, but then you make provisions to safeguard yourself. That is why a companion came to the masjid with his horse, and then he met the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by the doorstep. He said, Ya Rasulullah, do I tie my horse and then rely on the Almighty Allah? I didn't ask you anything. Do I tie my horse and then rely upon the Almighty Allah? I just leave the horse and then rely on the Almighty Allah. The Prophet said, no. Tie the horse and then rely upon the Almighty Allah. So our hearts and then our souls and our iman is reliant upon the Almighty Allah. He is the only one who can give or take or do anything. But then the natural laws that the Almighty Allah has put in place, we need to follow them. For example, you can't come to the masjid here and then you say you want to plant an apple tree in the masjid here. It won't germinate because the soil here has been what? Has been turned into something else. So you go where you must plant and then you rely upon the Almighty Allah. You rely upon the Almighty Allah to give you health, but then you take your medicines. You don't say, me, I'm a Muslim, I believe in Allah. You don't take your medicine. No, it doesn't work like that in Islam. Your level of, it's not a sign of iman. No. So you take your medicines, you what? You rely upon the Almighty Allah. You lock your house, you rely upon the Almighty Allah. Any other question on that? So overzealousness. So with the prayer, combining of the prayer, if there is fear, if there is insecurity, if there is a situation whereby it's life-threatening, maybe there's a blizzard, there's a snowstorm, coming, the weather forecast, I've predicted that maybe in a couple of times this is going to happen. We come to the masjid, we combine our salah, we go home so that we stay safe. Because coming out of the masjid, coming out of the home to the masjid to pray in a sandstorm or in a snow blizzard is detriment to our health. It can also kill us. Islam says no. So at the window of opportunity that you have, combine those salah and then you pray. For example, sometimes it snows. I'm being told that sometimes it snows and then the city is shut down for 2-3 days, right? You don't go anywhere. Don't come to the masjid. Don't tell me you have iman, so you are coming to the masjid. Stay home. I hope you get it. When it was time for pandemic and then they said, stay home, no gathering and stuff like that, it is not a sign of iman. They say, we are coming to the masjid. No. It's not a sign of iman at all. It's not a sign of iman. You take precautions within the Sharia so long as those precautions do not erode the basic fundamentals of the Sharia. So this social distancing prayer that is that, feet apart, there's nothing wrong with that. So there's nothing like overzealousness in the deen. It must be tamed with knowledge.
Do we only do those type of prayers in a masjid, or do we do them at home?
You can do them at home. It's not only at the masjid. Because
الله أكبر الله أكبر
Allah Akbar.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
أشهد أن محمد رسول
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله أكبر.
لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمد وسيلة الفضل. اللهم صل على محمد. So as we said earlier on, overzealousness is not something that the religion, likes. So within those circumstances of joining prayer, it's not, I'm going to come to them. Even sometimes, the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he makes Bilal call the adhan, but then he makes him go through town and say, pray in your homes, pray in your homes, pray in your homes. Because of, coming out to the masjid might be an inconvenience for people depending on what the situations and then the conditions that the city might find itself. So you can pray in your homes, combine it, and there's nothing wrong. Inshallah. Take one final question and then we'll call it.
So you saying that you can combine them?
Yes, you can. You will understand this combination very well. Back home in Africa, we have compound homes. So you have a huge house and there are about 20 families in that house. And we have a masjid in the middle of the house. So you combine, you are in your house and then you combine salah. For example, my family, we are about 30 persons in the house. Back home, my mom, my mother, my brother, his wife, his kids, my wife, my kids, and stuff like that. We have about 30 people in the house and we all pray in the house. So when it's time for we just combine and everybody goes to his room and that's it. So it's something that is doable.
So like even if we don't step outside and we're by ourselves,
Yes,
it's still
it's okay. Okay, Jazakumullah khairan, barakallahu fikum. The points that we discussed, I believe, are very sensitive issues, and I believe these younger ones you need to teach them. You know very well that the world now is a whole different place. Some people are out there to corrupt people. and especially the advent of the internet, social media, TikTok, Snapchat, and stuff like that, you know, the things that are in there are very, very, very bad. And sometimes some people's ideologies, in terms of the kind of education they give to our kids, is very, very un-Islamic. So we also need to take the reins in and then provide our kids with, you know, serious Islamic education. As I said, the public schools will always give your kids information but not education. 1 + 1 = 2 is not education, it's information. So you need to give your kids the education that they need within Islam, because it's not easy, especially the part of the world that we are in. But inshallah, the fact that it's not easy, we still have hope. The Almighty Allah is with us. Then we will do our best, and then we leave the rest to the Almighty Allah. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum.